welcome you to Sports Palooza Radio.
That's right.
Are you ready for this?
Hey, yo, listen, it's going down just like this.
Like a breath of fresh air.
Who's ready for
Lisa Nucci, Nucci, and EJ, the Rainmaker.
We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sports Palooza Radio. I am your co-host, EJ, the Rainmaker, and I'm here with little Nooch, Lisa, and Noochie. Lisa, how you doing today, honey?
I'm doing good. Happy February.
That's right. Into the new month, Black History Month, of course. And obviously, we got a lot going on. We just got done with the Super Bowl last week, and if you paid attention to the show, you know I gave out the Oprah for that show, and it hit. Of course, that was a boring Super Bowl. Seattle just walked all over Denver, so it was really nothing much to talk about there, huh?
Well, let's talk about the Puppy Bowl or the Kiddie Bowl,
yeah.
Or the commercials.
The commercials really weren't. I had higher expectations for those commercials, and they just didn't really come through.
In my opinion, I am going to say that for me, Budweiser was the clear winner, and Doritos came in second. But other than those two, I was not impressed. I mean, even GoDaddy, who usually has those scantily clad women, appealed to the women this year with all the men, the muscular men, but barely. The commercial was not good. So I was not impressed at all.
No.
I found myself more in the computer than watching anything during the show.
I mean, especially the game didn't help either. I mean,
no.
Seattle from the get-go walked out to a 2-0 lead and really never even looked back. Wasn't much of a game, and like you said, the commercials really weren't all that appealing either. So,
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Obviously, we're in February, and you know what's coming up next. We got the Olympics on deck. We've been talking about the Olympics for a few weeks here, 3-4 weeks. Talking about everything going on from security over there, and I know you have a couple friends over there who are in the media business who are saying there's a whole bunch of stuff going on about the accommodations and how things are looking over there.
Yeah, I saw reports about how the hotels for the journalists weren't even completed yet. There's stories going on about, dogs that are being euthanized because of this, because there's so many stray dogs over there that it's, in the way apparently. The hotels are just they're not even completed yet, according to the reports. So I don't really know what's going to happen between that and the reports of, how they're going to get potential bombs over there. It's very scary. We want to wish all of our athletes the best of luck in their sports, as well as please be safe.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's really reporting the major threats going on, talking about tubes of toothpaste being filled with chemicals. And
yeah.
Russia is not exactly, the safest place in the world. We know this, so, we're concerned, but what can you do? I mean, you can't go over there and just, expect something to happen. Hopefully they have security well enough. And obviously, some news about the Olympics. You saw Shaun White bowed out of the slopestyle competition so he can focus on the half-pipe this year, going for his third straight gold over there. And I guess he fell in practice yesterday and hurt his right wrist, and he just doesn't really think it's, worth it to continue on in that competition. And I guess one of his competitors, Maxence Parrot came out and said he can't win, so he pulled out because he's scared. No, Shaun's scared. Shaun's scared, man. Imagine Shaun White being scared of you. What a goon. I really hope Maxence Parrot is just absolutely, falling down during this competition. Comes in like 9th place and shut up. 40 Miller looked great this morning. He posted his fastest time in training on the downhill, and that competition begins Sunday. So that'll be nice. Obviously, everyone knows about the hockey. I'm going to be covering the hockey over at sportspalooza.com. I got a pretty big thread up with all the rosters, all the lines, all the stuff going on for that. So if you're into the Olympic hockey section of the whole Olympic thing, I'll be covering that pretty much to a pretty big extent. I know you want to get into some entertainment stuff and what's going on. What do you got over there? You know what you got.
Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to the Olympics. I really like watching the figure skating and the skiers, and I always wish that I could be one of those going off the mountain, and, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And as you guys know, February is Black History Month, and we wanted to take a moment here at Sports Palooza to honor those. They've made a significant impact in the sports world, and there's too many to mention, to be honest with you. But just to name a few, you have the first black NFL football player, Fritz Pollard, boxing legends Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, baseball phenoms Jackie Robinson and Hank Aaron, track speedster Jesse Owens, and, of course, Wilma Rudolph, football superstar and the first Heisman Trophy winner Ernie Davis. I got to give a shout-out to my Green Bay Packers, Reggie White, and hoops player and coach Bill Russell, and, of course, in tennis you got Arthur Ashe, and there's so many more. So this weekend, if you have an opportunity, check out some of the movies that have been released about these athletes. I know for two movies in particular that I would definitely look at is the movie 42 that came out, I think it was last year, about Jackie Robinson. And then going back several years, Will Smith portrayed Muhammad Ali, and that was actually one of the movies that put him on the map as somebody other than the Fresh Prince. And I thought he did a great job in that movie. And so check that out. And then if you have Netflix, if you go onto Netflix, there's a documentary called You Don't Know Bo. And if you know, that's Bo Jackson, and it's an installment of ESPN's 30 for 30 documentary series. And you'll see a whole bunch of those documentaries on Netflix. This one offers a closer look at two-sport athlete, Bo Jackson, who will be forever known as a cultural icon and one of the most professional sportsmen of all time. So that's over the next couple weeks, we're going to be bringing up more movies, more people that made an impact on the history of sports and honoring Black History Month. So speaking of that, just sports movies in general, what's your favorite sports movie?
My favorite sports movie would be probably the Yankees as long as I live. Even if I find a better movie that comes along in the next 20 years. I love 42. I thought they did a great rendition of covering Jackie Robinson and what he went through. But I'm sorry. Probably the Yankees and the Lou Gehrig story will be something that I will go to my grave as my favorite movie.
Absolutely. So that's what I have for today.
Nice.
In the sports entertainment world.
Nice. No CM Punk stories this week?
No CM Punk stories. He's not back yet. But before I forget, definitely check us out. We're going to be starting to post soon on reallifewithjane.com, and we'll be keeping up with all the sports entertainment. When she wanted to create this part of her site, she turned to us. So check us out there. We'll be posting really soon.
Yeah, why wouldn't she? We know what we're doing over here. Another sports news, obviously, Syracuse. Yeah, having a great season. That Duke game was a nail-biter. What a great game that was. Obviously an instant classic. And now Syracuse is on top of all three major polls. It's pretty wild what's happening with Wichita State, too. Undefeated. The only two teams left are Syracuse and Wichita State. The AP poll, it's really giving them a little respect, putting the Shockers at fourth. The coaches poll have Houston, Wichita State 1 and 2, which I think they should be. I mean, I understand what Arizona and Florida are doing, but, until you lose a game, you really should be on the top of the board. Wichita State, obviously playing some weaker teams, but anyway, she was going on Pebble Beach. Peyton Manning got in that tournament. He had a nice practice round with Bill Belichick yesterday, the Patriots coach, of course, and just the director of the event came out and said that when Peyton announced he was going to enter his name into the ticket sales went crazy. I mean, that was
of course.
Well, now we have Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Alex Smith, and
Aaron Rodgers.
There you go. So now they got 4 pretty big-name quarterbacks. That's pretty good for them. I don't know if anybody happened to catch that Laker game last night. I really want to talk about it real quick because it was just something you don't really see too often. I mean, the Lakers only had 8 guys dressed last night. They went to Cleveland, and Nick Young twisted his knee early in the first half. So now they're down to 7. And then Chris Kaman fouled out early in the fourth quarter. Now they're down to 6. And then Jordan Farmar came out of the game due to his cramping again. Jordan Farmar, just stop it. So they're down to 5 guys. So Robert Sacre, I'm not really sure of even who he is. He commits his 6th foul, and he officially fouls out of the game. But you're not allowed to play 5 versus 4, so they actually had to leave Sacre on the floor. And if he were to actually pick up another foul, it would have been a technical foul. If he committed a 7th foul, he'd still stay in the game. And all that really would have resulted from that is a technical free throw. But it's amazing he can still stay on the floor with all those fouls. They only have 5 guys they can even put on the. And they were talking about putting Jordan Farmar, just have him stand in the corner and do nothing because he couldn't run. And I saw someone said Steve Nash was going to put on a uniform and try and go. Yeah, right. And they still won. I mean, both teams were 16 and 32 going into that game, and the Lakers walked out of there with nobody on that court.
That's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, I'm not as into to the basketball as you are, of course, but I always thought when you fouled out, you had to get off the field,
No.
go off the court.
No.
You know, I
No.
did not know that you could legally still stay on the court.
Yeah. Yep. When you can't put enough guys out there, you have to leave him on there.
That's just
You get
so
sent out.
strange.
But,
and then what does it say for the other team that after all that they still won?
At home.
At home.
All right, so we have a great guest today. Great guest. Fritz coming on our show today, and if you remember when they closed Yankee Stadium in 2008, everybody was announcing that he had the all-time lowest E.R.A. in the history of Old Yankee Stadium, and we have him on the line today. So, Fritz, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you, man?
Oh, just fine, EJ. How you guys doing?
No, we're tremendous. Thank you so much for taking part, and at short notice, getting the whole. I mean, I've been talking to you all week, and thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I love being out there, talking out there, because whenever I do anything east of the Mississippi, I can be myself again. When I'm out on the west side of the Mississippi, I got to be my Midwest self and hide.
So, Fritz, obviously I'm going to ask you, what's it like when you're actually in names with Whitey Ford, Mariano Rivera, Cy Young? I mean, your name is huge in the Yankees' history. I mean, you have the all-time history, 2.52 ERA in the history of that stadium. Even over, like I said, Whitey Ford, Mariano. I mean, what is that? Does that give you some pride knowing that you're like in that kind of a name?
Oh, I never thought I'd be in that kind of group like that. I never even knew they kept that stat. And it was in 2008. My lawyer happened to be at the game that day when ESPN flashed that on the big board out in left field, or right field now. And he called me and he said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" He said, "You have the lowest career ERA of any pitcher in the history of Old Yankee Stadium." I said, "You're kidding." I said, "Whitey Ford's in there and Mel Stottlemyre." He said, "It's you." So I said, "Oh my goodness!" And then Marty Appel, the great writer out there, when I talked to him later, he said that's one of those OMG moments. Oh my God, yeah. And it was, and it still is. I still can't believe it.
Yeah, that's tremendous. I mean, you're talking about quite a history. I mean, you were one of those pinstripes for years now. Obviously, the 1970 season for you was, culmination of a tremendous career. You made the All-Star team. You win 20 games. You had 2 home runs. You had 3 doubles, 20 hits. Tell me how your approach was to hitting, and how the advent of the DH when that came in. How did that affect you? Were you, being a pretty decent hitting pitcher, all of a sudden they say you can't hit anymore? I mean, were you like, wait, what?
You know what? That actually did possibly affect my career a little bit, because I was a better than average hitter, and I was a good bunter and all that stuff. So I've won a couple of games at least throughout my career with the bat or bunting or something. And those were taken away, and I didn't even mind it at all, because it would bring more hitters up, like a Mickey Mantle a couple extra years, or an Al Kaline, and I thought it was good for the fans.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can't even help yourself anymore. I mean, weren't you? I mean, I would think you'd be disappointed that they actually took the bat out of your hand.
Well, in a way, it was disappointing because I really liked to hit, and but in another way, I hit a lot of batters, and nobody could get me back after that.
That's pretty great, Fritz. Oh man! All right, so tell me about your book. When the Mickey Mantle was going to heaven in July 2009, Maury Allen, had a great quote about your book as well. Tell me how that book came to be.
I didn't hear the end of your question.
Tell me how the book with the Mickey Mantle going to heaven, that whole process.
It was a culmination of a lot of things that had built up over the years, especially about our situation, our marriage thing and all that. Got out of it was taken out of context quite a bit by the media, and I had gotten prostate cancer, which had come back at that time, and there was a chance of me dying. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to straighten this thing out right now, so that it can exonerate my wife, my current wife, more than the other one did, because a lot of those things made it look like it was a really, really slutty thing, and it really wasn't, even though people could construe that. And I just wanted to straighten that out, and along the way, I had found that God was bigger than I ever thought he was after everything that has happened to me, and I slipped some of that stuff in and some of the pranks in, and it turned out to be a fun book, and I would do it a lot differently now. In fact, I did a book that I just finished up called When the Yankees Were on the Fritz, and Dan Schlossberg is helping me clean that up and make it a presentable book like a real author wrote it. But that was fun because that was real. The Mickey Mantle's Going to Heaven thing was kind of a little of that, and it was fun too. It was a great experience, and I love Mickey Mantle. I miss him to this day, and I miss a lot of those guys. And it just reminded me of what it was really like, because I had withdrawn for so long because of our situation and the media coverage like that. It was just kind of fun to delve back into baseball and start writing about it. And I found myself laughing at tables at McDonald's or at these little pubs I go to write. And it just was fun again, along with going to Yankee fantasy camps again. I started that in 2004, and it was kind of like just being back again. And I really had missed it all those years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how difficult it was, because here, you're a baseball player. You want to focus on your career. You want to focus on your achievements. You had some great achievements, and here you have Hollywood breathing down your back. You have people taking things out of context. I mean, how did it affect you knowing that when you look things up on the Internet, that's a predominant part of it, and yet wouldn't you want it to be the other way around?
Yeah, you would want it the other way around. And really, this just happened, between the wives thing. And since doing research on it for another book I've been doing that will come out along with the movie, I found some things that I hadn't even realized during our little situation while it was happening, that I found in the papers reading the box scores day by day. And I couldn't believe it, because this thing our marital thing had taken me so deep out of my mind that I didn't remember throwing one pitch the rest of that season from July 15th, which was the day that little party started, and we started getting serious and having, visions of being with a new person and all that. But I was so deep and heavy into that I didn't remember one pitch of that season, one game, one pitch, and we were within half a game of first place 3 different times that year, and I didn't remember one of them. And that is the honest-to-goodness truth. And the only reason I found it out was because I had to go back and get some facts in for this writer who did that one, Steve Jacobson, with me. And when I got done, I could not believe it. Actually, I'd like to do, I don't know what you call it, an essay or something, and calling it The Lost Season, because it truly was.
Wow.
Right. And I mean, now you mentioned that the movie is coming out, so I mean, it's going to be brought back up again. How are you coping with that?
Oh, I'm coping well with it. My wife isn't. She hopes it doesn't come out, because it would just bring up some sore memories for her from other things. But for me, I'm excited to see it come out, and it may never come out, but I sure hope it does, because I think it's a very interesting thing, and I'd be interested in seeing it if I didn't know it happened,
Right. Right. True.
I know how it ends.
Yeah, it's Hollywood. You always want to see what they're going to do. On a side note, before I have EJ talk to you a little bit more about your career, I want to actually talk to you about Maury Allen, because we lost him a couple years ago, and when I was a young writer just starting out, he was my first really good profile that I ever wrote, and I got to spend like 3 or 4 hours in his office going over all his memorabilia and talking about the Mets, and it was absolutely amazing. Were you close to him, I mean, I'm sure that you felt his loss as well.
Yes, I was close to Maury during the days when I was playing in New York. And then what happened later was Maury is a very prolific writer and one of the most well-known writers in New York. And he wrote a few things about us during that media thing that weren't true. And my wife especially was angry about that for years and years. And that's kind of what came out in the book, in the Mickey Mantle is Going to Heaven book. And he read it, and even though that was in there about him, I said some things that weren't that great about him. And he still said the book was a great book, which I realize it wasn't now. It was just getting something off my chest. But when before Maury died, which was, I guess, 3 years ago, something like that. We made amends for that, and he apologized for me for writing things that weren't true. And being a writer, sometimes, as you mentioned, with Warner Brothers and the big screen, they kind of pull things out a little that may not have been there. And it happened, and Maury admitted it and apologized, and so did I, because I did like him, and we did have a real good relationship during the time I played. After this situation came up, I think he kind of turned on me a little bit and for profit, and I didn't appreciate that, but he understood that before he died, and we were friends again.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
You mentioned your health earlier. How are you doing, and how did it lead into the work that you do with the Ed Randall Foundation?
Well, I had a diagnosis of prostate cancer in 1998, and at the time, I had like two choices to make as to which way to get it treated, and Joe Torre got his taken out, and Mayor Giuliani had what they call radioactive seeds. And I selected the seeds thing because it was supposedly 50-50. And you didn't have any recovery time to do with the seeds, and it was 6 weeks if you had it removed and so forth. So I got the seeds and thought it was all taken care of. And about 8 years later, I went to the urologist, and he did my PSA test again, and it was up again, and it's supposed to be gone. And this was the time that I really panicked, because the second time around, you don't do either one of those procedures again. They just call it salvage surgery, and they just try to do whatever they can to keep you alive. And that's where I was sitting at that point, and I thought, I might die now. This could be it. And I actually felt during a 2-week period of time that I would not be living through the next Christmas. And in one, I don't know if you call it sick way, it was kind of refreshing to think you get a free trip out of here, because at the time I believed that I was saved, in quotes, and I didn't have any problem with that, but I didn't want to leave my family with nothing, with nobody to help them. So I went to our pastor and I said, can somebody, me, lose my salvation if I once was saved, which I am? Can you lose it? And he never answered that question, and it led to him giving me a book that I read that night about the salvation of all, and it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life, and I can't help but not hide it now, because it's just so refreshing that God is bigger than I ever thought. He's not a member of one church or another. He's everything, and it just was a veil taken off my eyes, and I could peek over the top of the box now, and it was and is so refreshing that that's one of the things I think about quite a bit now, and I'm very, very thankful.
Right? How could you not be? I mean, Chris, you go through something like that. I could definitely understand how. I mean, it's definitely when you have the inspiration of God on your side, it's definitely going to come in your favor. Tell me more about the speaking series you're doing with the Winning 20, One Pitch at a Time with Jay Wolf. What project is that?
Yes. About 3 years ago, I met Jay in New York, and he's an organizational and executive coach that focuses on leadership and performance. And he got to know my story about, and this was after it was announced that I had the lowest E.R.A. in the history of Yankee Stadium, and he says, well, are you telling people about that? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, you're number one. And he said, you won 20 games one year, didn't you? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, how did you do that? And he got me thinking about each day of preparation, each pitch I threw into a goal of winning 20, which is every starting pitcher's dream. And it was so amazing that he could channel this goal-setting stuff into something that can be used for other people to enhance on in any walk of life, whether it be a housewife or a salesperson or a car dealer or anything. And I said I would, and I am, and I'm going out starting in June, giving some seminars on that, and it's really exciting to be able to pass some of these principles on to other people that they can use in their walk of life, whatever it is. And so I'm excited about that. And he also made me lose 50 pounds because he says, you know, you can't go out there looking like that. You know, how are you going to do it? What are your goals? And here I go. I got to do what he's saying now, and I did, and it worked out well because I feel a lot better now. I'm having a ball writing. I'm doing another book on pranks, and I'm doing another book on, I'm going to call it the Born Again Club. And I mean, some reverends and priests may not enjoy it, but I can't help it. I got to tell what I tell. And then being a consultant with Warner Brothers, and I've spoken to Casey Affleck a few times, and I want to see that thing come out and be fun and funny and be a love story, which is what they said it was and which is what it was.
Yeah.
Right. Have they consulted? I mean, you said they've consulted with you. I mean, are you going to have final say on what's in that movie?
I get to choose characters in it, you know, when it gets to that point. And I spent 3 days out there in Hollywood with David Mandel, who wrote the first screenplay, and it was just a pleasure. That man is so good, and they told me that they were going to make it into a love story, and I believe them. And I'm just anxious because it'll be interesting, and I truly hope it comes out.
Yeah. Now, do you still follow baseball? I mean, do you still follow the Yankees or any other teams?
I follow the Yankees, and I can't help it anymore. I just that the Yankees are baseball to me. The Mets are nothing, and I know half your people are going to hate me when they hear that.
Yeah.
But the Yankees are. Are you a Met fan, EJ?
I'm a huge Yankee fan, and Lisa's a huge Met fan. So you just kind of.
I just cut Lisa off. Sorry, Lisa. I'll see you tomorrow.
She stuck her tongue out of me, and I stuck my tongue out of her when you said that. So yeah.
I suppose I should have cleared that before I got on the air.
Yeah, now we're going to go downstairs and have a little fight, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You got grounds now. But the other thing I'm working with Jay is, if you heard of Jamal Mashburn, the basketball player.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he went to Kentucky and all that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he's done fantastic in the real world. He's got 34 Outback Steakhouses, 37 Papa John's, and he's just an example of somebody I would like to have been like when I left sports. Unfortunately, I didn't, so I'm having to make up for it some other ways. But he's an example of what Jay Wolf and I are trying to work with now in various sports, basketball in this case, and then football, and in my case, baseball, to try to get the guys into something so they don't lose their identity when they get their uniform stripped off, because it's going to happen to everybody. And someday, and it's better to be prepared than just walk into the dark like I had to and like a lot of guys did. So that's been exciting to do, too. And this is a funny one, if you have a second. There's an umpire, Al Clark, who I met this last summer on a cruise, and he's become a best friend now. And he's got a book coming out called Called Out But Safe, and just a fabulous guy and knows a ton about baseball. And he and I are going to try to do a off-Broadway show called The Pitcher and the Umpire. And we're going to go back and forth out there about how the umpire's thinking, then how the pitcher's thinking, and I think it's going to be hilarious. And that's in the making, and we'll see what happens with that. But I'll be the first one to call you when we get this rolling. But it's just been exciting to be alive.
Absolutely. I mean, Fritz, you've done so much. I mean, you know, with the books and baseball, and now working with Hollywood and musicals. Is there anything that you want to do that you haven't done yet, or you know, what else do you want to do?
I'd like to go to Old Timers game this year for the Yankees. I haven't been there for a few years, and I want to see Mel Stottlemyre out there. That would be fun. But other than that, we got enough on our plate now. It's just been fun. My wife and I still party every night. We usually go to a pub and remember the good days and the old days and new days, and it's been a challenge. We have a lot of kids. It seems like 100 sometimes, and we want to try to get through that and make sure they're all okay for the future. And it's tough nowadays because I don't know how people can even live, you know, without a little help of some kind.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Fritz, I just want to ask you, you went to Arlington High School in Illinois, and you went to Northern Illinois. You were a Husky. When you were in college, you have any good memories of playing? Did you play ball for Northern Illinois, too?
Oh, yes, I sure did. I played 3 years there. Pardon?
No, I said tell me some memories of when you were in college.
Oh, okay. When college was the second most fun time in my life, and those were like 6 years probably over the stretch. Being with the Yankees 8.5 years was the most fun of my life, but college was a blast. The first year I didn't make the team even. I got cut, and I was too dumb to quit, so I came back, and I eventually got on that team. And the next year, I was a starting pitcher, and I won 1 game and lost 5, all in the last inning. And then all of a sudden, everything turned around, and I had things happen for me my junior year that I was actually really, really good. And it was like same thing in high school. I wasn't any good until my last year. Then I was really, really good in my last year. And the same thing in college, and I got a chance to sign, and I did with the Yankees and felt like I was a king. I always had been a White Sox fan, but then I had to change over, and I saw why. They had those number 7, Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris, and all the real guys were there, which were all there when I broke in 1966. But to me, college was a blast. We gambled. Hey, don't tell the commissioner. We played cards every night after. So it was fun. It was just like living a childhood, and then I had to relive it with the Yankees again, especially on the road trips, and it was just a blast. I'm trying to return to those days, and maybe I'll have to wait till I get to the old folks' home to do it. But I've got some books I'm going to read there when I get there. I've got them all ready, including Ball 4, because I never read that while I was outside here in the real world.
No, that's a good book, man.
Yeah, I hear it is, but I knew guys on both sides of that. You know, Bowden was my friend, and I didn't want the other guys to think I was in on any of the stuff, and yet I really did not read the whole thing. I read bits and pieces here and there, but I'm looking forward to that one. And then there's another very, very long one that Marty Appel wrote about the Yankees. I'm taking that with me to the old folks' home, and I'm going to have a lot to do. You guys come visit me.
We will.
Absolutely.
Tell me about. Are you still involved with the whole web-based column, New York Natives? What's going on with that?
Yes, absolutely. We're talking. They just signed with Dan Schlossberg, the co-author of my book, to do a column for them, and he's a perfect fit. He's in with travel stuff, and they're just fun people. They're alive, and they're. If I were in the city, I'd be wanting to go to their office every day. It's just invigorating, and they come up with such wonderful things and items, and with the web and with their newsletter type thing. It's just exciting to be there, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff. They're going to do excerpts of the new book when the Yankees were on the Fritz for me this year for Dan and I. So I'm looking forward to a long relationship with them. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and they're part of New York. They are New York.
I got to tell you, I love the name of the book. I absolutely love the name of your book.
You know who helped me with that? Marty Appel. He looked at a couple of different names, and he said he's the one who said when the Yankees were on the Fritz. And I said, okay, people remember that Fritz because somebody's got a dog named Fritz, but there's not too many others around there.
When that book comes out, man, you have to send us a copy. I mean, we definitely. I'm gonna want to read it.
You'll get the second copy. My wife has to get the first one.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that one. Speaking of your wife, man, tell me what you have planned for Saturday because that's your 72nd birthday. Happy birthday in advance.
Well, thank you. What I'm going to do is go to a movie. Every year I go to a movie on my birthday because I used to love movies. We have too many kids and grandkids now to spend time doing that. But every birthday I go to see a movie. One day, to take you back to the playing days, we were in Detroit, and we had a whole off day there, and that was when I was real young. I didn't know you were supposed to go out and drink in those days. So we had the whole day off, and I went to 5 movies from noon to 9 o'clock that night and was never tired of one of them. So my movies are in my history, so that's why Saturday I'm going to one. So you can pick it out. Just email me and tell me which one to go to.
Nice. That'll be my job because I have to drag him to the movies, and I'm a movie junkie.
Oh.
So I'll pick you out a good one.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Lisa.
Chris,
Tell me which one to see.
Absolutely amazing. Sounds good.
What's that? Okay.
No, I
cool.
said it sounds good. I said this interview's been amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I'd love to listen to it. What's it? Is it on a link or something?
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll email you the link to the show so you can re-listen to it later.
Okay. Thanks, EJ.
Of course.
Thank you guys so much. Looking forward to meeting you someday, too. Are we done here? Is that what you're saying?
Fritz, you're awesome. Thanks so much for being with us. And we're going to let our readers know when our readers, listen to me, our listeners know when your book is coming out. And hopefully we'll have you back on another time. We're going to see you one day in the old folks' home.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, come on in. I'm going to have no kid. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, EJ.
Thanks, Fritz.
Thanks, Fritz.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye.
That is great stuff. I mean, you're talking about an old school.
Yeah.
I mean, old school hasn't even come close to talking about what Fritz is all about. I mean, he's been around. He's seen some stuff. I mean, when you can tell the Mickey Mantle days and come on.
I mean, he's played with some of your favorite players, you know, and just the fact that, like you said, he's left his own mark. And well, you know what I love the best? I love the fact that regardless of the controversy that surrounded him, that kind of overshadowed what he accomplished on the field, listen to the sense of humor that he had about the whole thing. I'm sure that it's been difficult on his wife. I'm sure that it's been difficult on his family.
Yeah.
And I know that for the listeners out there, we didn't really touch upon exactly what that controversy was.
No.
But all you have to do is just Google Fritz, and you'll get a little bit of background as to, what happened, and get the details. And Hollywood is definitely, knocking on his door to put this movie out there. But he had a great attitude about the whole thing, and I can understand his wife's situation, how she feels about it. But it could have gone a whole different way, and he could have not wanted to talk about anything. And I give the man a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, even in baseball, kind of shunned him for what. I mean, it was kind of frowned upon. I mean, you just don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's cool. He's so up. I love his attitude. I mean, and now look at him now. I mean, this book and that series and
a musical.
Yeah, and he actually did some color commentary and hockey for a while with the WHA New York Raiders. I mean, he's had a tremendous career after playing and now in his whole.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And it's funny. I mean, just speaking of, he wanted a recommendation for a movie. There was something that I didn't talk about at the beginning of the show, which doesn't come out this weekend, so he'll have to wait a little while to catch it. But sports movies are huge. There's more and more coming out, and actually in April there's another one coming out. It's called Draft Day, and it stars Kevin Costner, and it's apparently based on a true story of I think it's the Cleveland Indians or Cleveland Browns. The football team. Browns. Thank you. I just had it blanked out. And it looks really good. I mean, I saw the trailer. It looks really good. And that'll be coming out in April. But there's a lot of really cool sports movies out there.
What do you think you're going to recommend to him so he can? You have to go over your movies?
I'm going to have to sit down and think about this, because I don't know what he likes, and I got to think of the wife, too. Yeah, were you shocked to hear him say, I was just going to go to movies because I'm a big movie buff? You're like, Yep, absolutely. That's my thing. Can you, I bet you wanted to be him on that one day you spoke about when he was on the road. 5 movies in one day. Well, I would love that. I would do that every weekend. Are you kidding me? I would just sit there and go from theater to theater, just watching every single movie that's out there if I can. So which is why I cover the sports entertainment side of this business, because that's what I love so much. Yeah. So I'll definitely let you guys know what movie I picked for him. We'll definitely get it out there, and hopefully he'll get back to us and let us know what he decided on. Absolutely. That's great. What else you want to discuss here? I mean, we can cut the show a little short today. We only have one guest on the show, and Fritz was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, no, I'm actually done for the day. I mean, like you said, you know, we usually run an hour, but we're hoping in the next couple weeks we have a couple of the Olympic athletes who are going to visit us. I'm not going to drop names; some of them are quite big.
Yeah.
But so you're going to want to tune in for that. We just want to thank everybody who participated in, you know, our contests that we've had. We've had some really great winners who have received some autographs and some food for just participating with us. So keep following us on Twitter and
at Palooza Radio.
At Palooza Radio. Keep following us on Twitter at Palooza Radio, and you'll be able to see what we have coming up. And please, you know, make sure you recommend to your friends to tune in and listen. You know, let them know that you heard us here. Yeah.
You know, obviously we'd like to thank the people that help us out listening to us on their site. That's ultimatesportstalk.com and NewYorkSportsPodcast.com. I love when we have a New York guest on here, and that was cool that we had a Yankee on today, so that could definitely make Steve pretty happy. Sports Codex, obviously you can find us, like Lisa said, at at Palooza Radio on Twitter and radio.sportspalooza.com. And for any of you, like I said, about covering the Olympics, the hockey segment, you can catch me over at sportspalooza.com on the forum there. I'm going to have a big write-up. I already have, it's already pretty big now, but so go over there and check out the hockey section if you want to, see what's going on in the Olympics hockey. And I have another section over there for all the Olympics, all the lines that Vegas is giving out for all the events, and it's quite a big event. So, you want to get out of here, honey?
Want to get out of here.
All right. Well, as we like to say, thank you for listening, everybody, and have yourselves a good weekend. We'll get in touch with you next Thursday, and
bye-bye.